Welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, Deja Cromartie, publicist. She'll be with us for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. And like I said, I have a very special guest for you, Deja Cromartie, publicist and a woman of many hats. You're gonna find out all that good stuff. But Deja, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have somebody like yourself here. We love women in the community who are doing great things, and you came highly recommended.
Thank you.
So we're excited to hear about all the good things that you have going. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Who is Deja Cromartie?
So I am a publicist. I've been doing PR for 7 years under my own brand. I pretty much work with experts, people that have an expertise that want to get their story out to the world. So It's not necessarily celebrities, contrary to what a lot of people think in terms of what a publicist does. I tend to work with community leaders, business owners, and people that are just have mission-based brands that are looking to spread their message.
Absolutely. So how did you even get into all this? What's the backstory of the lead up?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a communications major. At that time, I hadn't discovered exactly what I wanted to do. And one of my friends was just like, oh, well, I'm about to do an internship at a PR agency. I think that would be a good fit for you. You should consider applying with me. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I hadn't at that time made a decision in terms of what I wanted to do career-wise. So I was just open to exploring, and I ended up falling in love with it. So
absolutely. And that's one of those things you just never know sometimes, especially with certain majors. I prefer that route of taking something a little more broad, and then you have the option because it could lead into so many different things you could specialize later. So a lot has been going on, and we know that, but you did hit on something about the traditional route of PR, which many people think is just you have your media list and you have you're out pitching all the time, which is part of PR.
Yes,
you do have to, when you have a roster of clients that you're working with, you have to put your pitches together. You have to have certain journalists or writers or people that when they see your name, when they see Deja's name, they actually consider looking at what it is you're pitching. So what would you say has been the biggest change over the last few years in terms of how you operate your PR?
I would say the biggest change has been for me being able to let my clients or potential clients know the audiences that I can connect with them for them.
That's important.
I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations, and essentially they come to me because they want to look cool. They want to cater to a millennial-based audience or sometimes younger, and they don't know the proper way to do that. They don't know, they're not tapped in terms of who are the influencers at that time. What's the language that we use? What type of programs should we create to, engage this younger audience?
Absolutely. So how do you keep relevant with all that? How do you keep up with the stuff that's moving and shaking? And of course, like you said, the latest trends and the influencers, if people are coming to you as the expert, how do you keep up?
That's a great question. So I do spend part of my days doing a lot of research. I'm active on social media. I really love Instagram. That's my number one platform, but I'm always in the space. I'm always looking and seeing and trying to identify the trends just by doing research. I look at a lot of different trade publications as well, in addition to what's cool on social media or what's cool in pop culture. And then I take those different trends and I try to put a twist on it so that it makes sense for the clients that I'm representing at the time.
So a typical person, what would be your ideal client? Someone will come to you because they want to specialize in more not-for-profit, or what would be Deja's, you will come to Deja because you're pitching what?
Yeah, so I tell my clients all the time, I love to work with people that are mission-based. So it's most notably, it's always a lot of people recognize it as being working with a nonprofit, but a lot of times I work with subject matter experts that are just really passionate about what they're doing. One of my clients, for example, is a beauty brand, but they have a mission of helping to heal cancer patients. So while they're encouraging people to purchase their products, a lot of their proceeds go to cancer research. So that's what I mean when I say mission based. So it has to be something bigger than what the obvious is.
Of course. How have you developed your list over the years? What has been, because I know that's like a publicist list is like their child.
Yes.
That is like when you finally have, and you're always having to scrub your list and update, and people move and people go to different publications. So what has been a technique for you to really keep relevant and also, keep that focus on what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it's just social media. I'm really good at showing people or giving people a glimpse into my world. So honestly, me being here today, I've showed people what I'm doing. So a lot of times journalists will come to me and say, hey, can you please put me on your list? It might be in an area that is not that popular, but I like to find areas that are trending, and you never know, I might have a reason to be there or to get coverage there. So I never rule anyone out, but I'm always encouraging people to connect and build with me, and then I point them in the direction. So if they are a journalist and they're interested in keeping up to date in terms of what I'm doing for clients, I will put them on an email list in terms of what's going on. And then when I do have something that makes sense for them, I make meticulous notes. So I'll take notes of like what area they're in, what's their beat, what do they cover, and then when the time is right, I will reach back out and I'll pitch them a story that makes sense. So that's how I do it.
Absolutely. So let's do a little bit of PR 101, you know, because sometimes you have to take it right back to the basics. What, as a publicist, because a lot of people have this misconception that because they've retained a publicist, that it automatically means you're going to get exposure. Yes, of course, that's the hope, but you could bring the story to the journalist, but ultimately you cannot make anyone come out and cover your story, write about you. So kind of enlighten the community about that.
Yeah, so pretty much, like you said, a PR's job is a publicist's job is to bring exposure to that client, but they already have to, in some capacity, already be doing the work, which is why I prefer to work with mission-based brands, because there has to be a human interest piece or a tie greater than what the obvious is. Like I said, like if you're selling beauty products, I suggest, is it diversity inclusion, like what Fenty Beauty did? There has to be like a bigger tie-in for that. So you already have to, in a capacity, be doing the work in order for journalists to be interested in what you're doing. It can't be, and not saying you can't be a startup, but you have to already start like building out that story a little bit and lay a foundation first before you can start positioning your brand for press. And that's what I tell my clients all the time. Like, it's not enough. Yeah, you got to be in position for it, basically. So
and that's important, because a lot of times, and I've had many smaller clients. I work with a very close friend of mine in my women's group who runs her own PR company, and sometimes, like you said, they're just not even ready yet, or they assume because I have a publicist, and they're not seeing what they want, but it's because they have the wrong idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of what the role of a publicist or a PR person even is.
Right, yeah, that's very true.
You have to understand that we will get you exposure, but sometimes you have to be doing some things yourself to also help bring that exposure out.
Right. I would like to describe it as we help to, so if you already have a movement, we're bringing like more momentum to that existing movement.
Right, absolutely, and it totally makes sense, and that's great. And then you'll be able to keep the ball rolling from there. Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. So, Deja, let's talk about a topic that has been so widely spread, and it just kind of came out of nowhere just because the way the world was shifting. Black Lives Matter. It came out of nowhere, but it didn't come out of nowhere. It's always been in bouts. Come out fade a little bit, but this time I think it's definitely here.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely here. As a publicist, how do you curtail that, and how has that changed how you have to move with your clients? Because sometimes if certain topics are at the forefront, and I have some freelance projects I'm working on as well, and you have to let them know sometimes now it's just not, you're going to have to hold on that because it's going to get overshadowed by what is currently trending right now. And if it's almost inappropriate for certain things, if it's not related to this, you should not even be pitching it right now.
Right.
So how do you do those workarounds?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, so depending on what the brand is, if it's not relevant to what's going on in the current news cycle, of course I encourage my clients or advise them that now is not the time, we should wait. But what I like to also do, and I had a conversation with someone, especially for brands that are, traditionally not of color or don't have the opportunity to pull on that, is creating programs to encourage that. So what I saw as a trend was a lot of brands that didn't really have like a lot of people of color on their staff, they started coming up with diversity initiatives to increase that so that they can, one, be more sensitive to what's going on in the landscape, and in the event that this does come back around again as like trendy, even though I feel like, of course, like Black Lives Matter is not a trendy thing, but
It's not.
But the news, is picking up on it, and you want to take advantage of that, they'll be in a better position to do that. Now, for brands that actually are true to that message, meaning they have people of color on their staff, or they're started by black-owned, things like that, this is the time to definitely speak up. Whether it's, showing, how your standpoint of it, whether it's, creating some type of like monetary donation to an organization or things like that. This is the time now to be speaking because people are watching. So.
Absolutely. So with your particular clients, have you helped anyone during this time? Have you worked with anyone to really align them, tweak their messaging, and just really get them in the forefront?
Yeah. So most of my clients are people of color, women of color primarily.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So one of my clients, she has a nonprofit that talks about, advocates for women and young girls. So she's definitely been in the forefront and been leveraging her platform to, one, get more celebrities involved, like at the local level, because she's based in Detroit, to speak about, one, the things that are going on from a women's perspective, because we see like a lot of men primarily are being arrested by the police, but there are also young girls that, like, for instance, the story of the young girl going to the detention center for not doing her homework, that's been a story that she's been running with and really been trying to do the legwork to not only get more exposure and press, but to hold the judge and the criminal system there in Detroit more accountable. So.
Oh yeah, of course. It's just so much going on with this. From as a professional in this, how do you see this movement continuing?
I think it's definitely eye-opening for a lot of brands that particularly would not speak on this. I think it's great that they're starting to see that not making a stance as being complacent, and that's not enough for their consumers and for the people that are, employees. And a lot of them are starting to realize, like, hey, we can't continue to not say anything, and we have a responsibility not only to our consumers but also to our employees to let them know that this is a safe place for them to work and a comfortable place for them to continue to work. So I think it's great, and I think it's holding a lot of people accountable, and I think that's what we've needed for a while now. So I think it's taken a while for it to happen, but it's better late than never, I would say. So
absolutely, for sure. Event wise, because I think 2020 it's a wash. We already know this, but we have to say it's a wash, but going into 2020, what were some of the things that you had planned? So I kind of like hearing what you had planned, and then we know where we are ultimately.
Right.
So what did you have planned, especially as a publicist for 2020?
Oh, early 2020, I was traveling a lot. So I had, one of my projects that I worked on was a campaign with UNCF LA. So we had completed a project where we did the first event, which was like a pre-reward reception where we were honoring Anthony Anderson and his contributions to HBCUs, specifically with his scholarship that he does every year with that UNCF. And then once COVID hit, that got canceled, the actual award ceremony. So I was just traveling. So I had just come back from like LA before like everything. LA, and then I had made a quick pit stop in Chicago to go to All Star. So
At least you got All Star.
Yeah, right. And then that was that. That's all I did. So.
Oh my gosh. What about any of your clients? Did you have clients who had to completely alter their? I think might have been the case with most people.
Yeah.
Who had to completely alter their strategy.
Yeah. So we were supposed to do, like I said, we did a kickoff event for the reception that we were doing PR for, my team and I. That's what I mean when I say we. And yeah, at first it was in the air, and it was just like, oh, well, maybe we'll, cancel it, maybe we won't. And then once all these other major events started canceling things, they just decided to like pivot it into eventually it'll be something virtual, which we're still like up in the air about it right now. So
you actually led into my next point, which is the whole virtual event thing. So how are you managing that? And because it's happening in real time, we're all kind of learning as we're going. I mean, Zoom has always existed, but I think if you didn't have stock in Zoom before, because this is the year, it just quadrupled because, like I said, it's always been there. Google Hangouts was always there, but it has become a staple to the point events and everything are being done via Zoom or YouTube Live or Facebook Live. So as a publicist, how do you now position that message to your clients that this is probably the direction that most people are going to have to go, at least for the next little while?
Yeah, I think so. Most of my clients were already doing at a very basic level, however, virtual things. It wasn't like advanced, but now I'm advising them that most of their costs associated with doing events will be more so technology based focused than the flip side of it where you were like paying for like decoration and stuff like that.
Now it's going to be the host. Like there's companies who go ahead and work the whole back end of your Zoom.
Back end of it,
So you could have private rooms, you could have different, it's a whole thing. It's a whole production, really.
Yeah, so that's been the biggest change. And then just creating programming that's interesting because, again, and this was an issue that I would encounter with some of my clients that are I'll say more established, more seasoned, I think is the proper word, where they would create programming that was a little, not as enticing and long format. So really just being creative with trying to continuously engage the attendee pretty much is what I've been advising them on because, again, a lot of my clients want to cater to that, like, millennial, sometimes, like, Gen Z, I believe, Gen Z audience. So it's just like we can't just sit hours on end and listen to something. Yeah, so we gotta tweak it a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. So, Deja, why don't you tell me what do you enjoy best about your job?
Oh, I love. Oh my
Your
God.
face just lit up, so I know you asked
so
hard.
I do love what I do. I would say the creative strategies. I like being able to create custom solutions based on what my clients' goals are. I like being able to be that person that's always looking for what the trends are and making them relate to what their needs and their objectives are. That's my favorite thing to do. So.
And what's the most challenging part of having your own business?
Oh, the most challenging part would be just, I would say the balance. So, like having a life, and I feel like because we're working virtually, like you're definitely working way more than you would if, you were
to commute, clock in, and leave.
Exactly. So it's just, having that balance and being like, okay, just because I'm home doesn't mean I'm actually working on stuff. So I recently had to hire a productivity specialist to help me map out a schedule.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm the type of person, if I see my laptop or I'm by my phone, I'm like, oh, I'll look on my email, I'll check my Instagram, I'm responding to messages. So I just needed a new schedule and new structure. So that's when
and how did you find that?
It was helpful because, one, she told me some of the things, because I recently brought on a virtual assistant, so she was just telling me some of the things that I can off myself and onto the virtual assistant. Just learning in categorizing what are like considered hard tasks and what takes me longer versus like what's something that's easy and quick. So now I have like a whole schedule, and Fridays for the most part I can be done by 2:30, so it's great.
That's good. And you know what? A lot of times you need to do that. You get to take a step back because, like you say, you're working from home, but it doesn't mean, like, now it's become, you still have to separate it because home used to be like, oh my God, I'm home. But now it's like, this is the office.
Yep, exactly.
This is where the money making happens.
Yeah.
So you have to really do find that pivot to find that balance and make it happen. When did you decide full time to do your own PR? Actually, that you were not going to have a paycheck officially hit a direct deposit every 2 weeks.
Right. So when did I decide? So I would say I made the decision 2 years ago, and now did that actually happen? Not quite. But officially last year was like June 2019 was like the time where I actually like put in my notice for my job, and I was like, I'm not going back anymore.
Yep.
So
that's great, and that's the hardest step. And I always ask that question because a lot of entrepreneurs tell me like that's the one time they like it feels great because you feel like you let a weight go. You know, you can focus on this, but then it gets real. Like when you're a month in and you realize, oh, no more direct deposit. That's finished. Just bye bye. Like it's not coming back.
Right.
But it just makes you grind harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we get in contact with you? How do people at home who want to book you, who have mission-based, community-based, any initiative that you think would be a good fit, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. So you can always go to my website. So it's DejaMonee.com. Or you can always find me on Instagram, which is my number one place. I'm on other social media platforms, but you can find me at IamDejaMonee. So I am Deja Monet on Instagram.
That's great, and it's important because you're always, as a publicist and of course as someone running your own business, you need to keep the client roster going.
Yes.
Because not all your clients are going to be active at the same time. They might come to you for specific campaigns. The goal is to keep people doing things all the time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But how do you fill that challenge when, do you find that you're always constantly looking for new people?
I always feel like, and what I always tell my mentees is that you want to have like a pipeline. So I'm strategic with my marketing on social media. I'm strategic with how I talk about things. So I'm always trying to build that list. Of course, I have multiple streams within my business. So I'm working on a course. I do like a lot of digital products. I actually have an ebook called Get Featured on my website.
Please talk about it.
So it's pretty much a guide for people that are looking to get press for their brand. And pretty much I walk you through the entire step. It's about 70 pages. And I also have templates so you can literally just swipe those files and customize it to your business, and you can start pitching to get press on your own.
Oh, wow. And that's actually pretty good that people, to be self-sufficient a little bit, buy the book, and then you could have the download, get access to the download, and you'll be able to do it yourself. What other kind of self tools that are available on your site or through your social? Yeah,
so primarily it's like templates. I do have some freebies. So I have audio training that talks about the 5 ways that you can use press to level up your brand in 2020. I'm always doing some type of live stream or webinar that people can tune into just to learn more about PR. I always try to share some type of value, so it's not one of those things where it's just like you're not going to walk away with anything. Like there's always something that you can use to implement. So,
and what are the other templates?
So the other template, okay, so I have a press release template. I have a template for an email introduction. So you always want to introduce yourself before pitching yourself to press. Like, not just ask them for something first.
Hello. Hi. I've got this going.
Like, introduce yourself. Other things. I have 20 PR angle ideas. So I try to give people that
need a hook.
Yeah. People that don't know where to start or don't know how to tell their story, like, here are some ideas that you can use. What else is in there? I have, so if you wanted to do, everybody's in the age of, I want to collaborate and stuff, so I have an actual template of how you should present yourself when you're looking to collaborate. So
see, these are all tools. That's why I was asking, because I know a lot of people could benefit from this. And you've kind of done a little bit of the layout and the framework for them, so why not? Go ahead, take advantage of that, pay for the book or pay for whatever it is there, get those downloads. Is it kind of a la carte? They could buy each thing individually?
So I positioned it as a kit because I would want them to read the book first and then pitch. So it's together. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
So just get the book and then you have access to all those tools.
Yep.
See? It's a great bundle. What other final words that you have for the viewers that you ultimately want the Beyond Focus family to know about when they watch your interview?
Yeah, I just want them to know that, everyone has a story to tell, and that don't be afraid to put yourself out there to tell your story. If you're not in a position where you feel like you're confident enough in articulating what your story is, and you should hire a professional like me. So
absolutely. And hiring a professional, it's not a weak thing to be like, you're delegating, you're leaving it in the hands of the best person.
Right,
to
absolutely.
do that. So I think it's absolutely great. So Deja, thank you so much. We're out of time, but we are going to have you back because I definitely want to tackle some other topics with you. It's been great. Maybe dive into that kit a little bit more. Maybe give us a live tutorial how it works.
Yeah, I'd love to.
We will definitely dive in on that. So thank you so much. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, you can send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. I'm your host, Lydia Patel. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Beyond Focus TV show wants and needs your feedback. Did we blunder? Please let us know so we can improve. Was the show helpful to you? Drop us a note so we can share the success with our staff members. Is there something you think we could do better? We welcome new ideas and new approaches to old ideas. Do you have a great suggestion? Let us know and we'll work on it. If you would like to share your comments anonymously, please send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. If you want to get in touch with the executive producer directly, send him an email at gene@beyondfocusmedia.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.